Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to Joyful Living. Today I am bringing you guys an update on the intermittent fasting video I did about 2 months ago, where I talked about my journey with 30 days of intermittent fasting. I've now been doing it for going on 90 days, and I want to share with you what I've experienced, what benefits it's brought, and if I'm going to continue doing it, and I'm really glad that you're here. So if you're new to my channel and if you are really doing research about intermittent fasting, first of all, I'm so glad that you're here and that you're choosing to spend some time with me. If you're not already subscribed, I wish you would. There's a big red button right there that you can press. And if you also hit those bell notifications, you'll always know when I upload a new video. And several of you reached out through Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and you wanted to know if I was still doing intermittent fasting and what my results had been. Now, if you watch that first video, and I'll put a link to that right here so you can go and watch it, my original goal was not weight loss. Of course, I kind of needed to lose a few pounds, but I was okay with my weight. I was still in the healthy range, and that was not my main goal. I really just wanted to feel healthier. I do have Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, which is an autoimmune disease. And before you start any fasting program, you definitely want to check with your medical doctor. I am not a doctor. I am not a dietitian. So everything that I'm sharing with you today is just my own personal story and should not be taken as medical advice. But I knew that some of the things I was reading about intermittent fasting, people were seeing really great results in terms of lowered inflammation, lowered joint pain, kind of flare-ups happening less with autoimmune disease. And after doing a lot of research and watching an amazing TED Talk that I did reference in the last video, but I'll also put a link to down in the description box, I decided that I would give it a try and see if I noticed any changes. And you can go and watch that video and hear about everything that happened in the first 30 days. But as I've continued on the journey, I have seen more and more improvements in my overall health. Mainly, I have seen improvements in my digestion. I definitely am having fewer stomach problems. I'm definitely seeing improvements in my energy and in my sleep. And I have seen continued weight loss. When I published that first video, I think I had lost about 8 pounds. Now I've lost about 12 pounds. I'm not actively trying to lose weight at all. I'm really eating just what I want to eat. I'm really noticing a big difference, not just in what the scale says, but just kind of in my relationship to food in general. And I think I've really hit on why this is working so well for me. I'm really getting ahead of myself though, because you need to know how I'm doing intermittent fasting. I am doing what they call a 16-8 window, which means I have an 8-hour eating window, which for me is typically 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then I don't eat anything from 7 p.m. until 11 a.m. Now, I had a lot of questions on that last video about coffee, and I can tell you guys, I absolutely have 2 cups of coffee every morning with a splash of milk and a couple teaspoons of Truvia. So I do my morning coffee and I have this entire time. Depending on who you talk to, they'll let you know if that's cheating or not. But, I'm doing this for me and I'm seeing all of the benefits with including my coffee. And so I feel no reason to take it out. I also have tea before I go to bed at night. And that is usually a large mug of chamomile tea, again, with a splash of milk and a small teaspoon of sweetener. So those 2 things are continuing. But I think for me, the reason the weight loss has been so significant is I think I was sneaking in a lot of calories in the evenings. Mornings were not as big of an issue for me, but eating after 7 o'clock was when I was tired. I was doing a lot of mindless eating. I think I was doing a lot of, turning on a movie or turning on TV and just kind of munching away on things that weren't that good for me. So I think I'm also being a lot more mindful about my nutrition. Now, I will tell you, I just went to my physical a couple of days ago, and my doctor asked, she said, you've lost about 12 pounds since your last physical, which, yay, good for me. And she asked me, as any good doctor would, is that intentional and what have you been doing? So we chatted about the intermittent fasting, and she said the only thing she really wanted me to be cautious of was that I was getting enough calories during my eating window and that I was eating the right kind of calories. And I think that the mindfulness of my eating has been huge because I really am focused on when I sit down to eat, am I getting all the nutrients that I need? Because, if I'm only going to eat a couple of times a day, I need to make sure that I'm fulfilling all of my nutritional requirements. She also suggested that I add a multivitamin. That's actually something I've been considering doing for a long time. I am 50 now. She talked about calcium and vitamin D, and I am going to incorporate those things into my diet. But, it's one of those things where I really should have talked to her in advance. Again, definitely suggest you talk to your doctor. But she was all on board with it and said she's seen a lot of patients who have had really good success with intermittent fasting as long as they were sure that they were getting in enough calories. I'm also noticing that I'm just sort of not interested in food like I was in the beginning prior to 11 a.m. or after 7 p.m. And I will tell you that took a little longer than 30 days for me to get used to. But at this point, it does not feel like I'm deprived of anything. My body has really just adapted to my new eating schedule. And I told Scott the other day, I feel like I'm just kind of scaled everything back. I've lost the weight, but I don't feel deprived in any way. And I think most experts will tell you that a weight loss program that is about deprivation rarely works long term. But because I'm eating all of the things I've always loved, I'm drinking wine, I had pizza last night, I have treats when I want it, all of those things. And generally I eat a pretty healthy diet anyway. But because I'm not getting in those mindless calories late in the evening and just overall I'm eating less calories, the weight loss has been a huge benefit. And it's just been something that has continued kind of unintentionally without my even trying. Another thing I've noticed a big difference in is joint pain. Now, I am an avid runner. I also have osteoarthritis. I actually have stage 4 osteoarthritis in my right knee. That's something that can be exacerbated by my autoimmune disease. And so anything that I can do to kind of keep inflammation down is really going to help with my symptoms. And that was one of my main goals with fasting. So now, 90 days later, I can tell you that has improved significantly. In fact, I cannot tell you the last time I had severe pain in this right knee. And when it's bad, I know because I have this thing where it kind of catches and it almost gives out on me. That has not been happening. I'm getting out of bed feeling a lot less joint pain, and I can really feel that overall my body is just digesting food better, using nutrients better, and I just feel a lot better. The third major benefit that I've seen is my digestive health. Now, I was on a prescription strength antacid for a while for acid reflux. Since I'm not eating later into the evening, and I've also made some dietary changes, I found out that I'm like really affected by tomatoes, which is good because for a minute I thought it was wine. Thank God, no, it's not the wine, it's the tomatoes. Evidently, a lot of the times when I had red wine, I was also having tomatoes. I thought the wine was the culprit, but I cut out the tomatoes and kept the wine, and guess what? No acid reflux. So I am no longer on prescription medication for my acid reflux, and I rarely, if ever, even have to use Tums. Again, because I'm not eating later into the evening, I normally have dinner around 6 and then don't eat again until the next morning. So my body has plenty of time to digest and just sort of get a break. So overall, do I feel like this was a good idea? 100% yes. I am not a slave to this. In other words, if for some reason I got invited out to eat, whenever that might start happening again, or if for some reason there was a special occasion and we wanted to have a big breakfast or things that would happen outside of those windows, I certainly make exceptions, and I don't stress. It's not a legalistic thing for me where I feel like, oh, you absolutely cannot eat before 11 or after 7. It's more just kind of an overall way that I am approaching eating and approaching health. And after 90 days, seeing the improvements that I'm seeing, I feel like, why would I not want to keep this up indefinitely? I think it was Jack LaLanne that said humans really do not need to eat 3 times a day. That was something that came out of an agricultural society. Most of us are not farmers. Most of us do not, have the output of energy that requires that much food. So, eating twice a day with a small snack during that 8-hour window is working just beautifully for me. I feel better, a little bit of a benefit. I feel like I look better. And even things like my hair and all of that, again, because I think I'm being more intentional about what I'm putting into my body, is just better overall. And so there's nothing in the world wrong with that. If you're considering trying intermittent fasting, again, check with your physician. Check out the TED Talk that I'll post below, especially for women that are 50 and over. This whole thing can be very frustrating with weight loss, and you might find, like me, that it is really the breakthrough that you need to finally get off a little bit of that extra weight and be able to keep it off. I hope you enjoyed today. Again, if you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and do that. Hit that big red button. I promise to be bringing you more updates. I did just sign up for another endurance race in April at Walt Disney World that, fingers crossed, will be happening. So more running updates will be coming soon. And of course, I always talk about all of the different things that bring me joy. Thanks for being here. Whatever you do, I hope you're finding joy, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.